All right, welcome everyone to Hanging Out. My house, as awesome as it is near a road. So you got some good mountain traffic going by. Give me a sec. All right. So that's the house. So yeah, welcome to my house up in the trees. I have a tree house up at 5,000 feet on the top of a mountain. The house itself is about 200 or so feet off the ground, off the side of a cliff. And then it drops way down below that. And then I'm hanging in a sky chair off the ground. So if I can paraglide right now because of COVID, all the wildfires in California, then I thought I'd sit in my t-shirt, hang out with you guys. But Dani and I were having a meeting. Dani Fox, our new COO of Anahat Education Group. Congratulations, Dani.
Congrats, Dani.
Congratulations.
Dani.
That's awesome.
Love you, darling.
Dani's doing amazing with the company. So we were talking, and for some reason we came up with, why don't we just have like a hangout, just informal. We're all sitting at home, quarantine. It's a crazy time in human history. It's like, let's just get everybody together and we'll chat with them. So it's not all about me. Dani's here. Renee, our Orlando director's here. Some of our staff are here. Ligia, one of our presenters, one of our new supervising aides. So yeah, Dani, what do you have to say about all this?
This is great, you know, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 24 phone calls to see how you guys are doing. So I'm really glad to see you guys. So,
Hi.
just that we're stuck in our day-to-day grind and don't get to connect as people, right? So this is a nice time to just be as people, a community of people who we happen to do the same thing, happen to have the same passion. But it's nice to see all your faces and remember that this is the mission, right? You all are the mission. Important.
This is Hypno.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. And my parents are here, Arnie and Nancy Brownstein.
Hi. That's awesome.
When I do my Monday night classes, they're usually there, and I think they watch for about 15 minutes just to see that I'm still alive and happy and healthy, and then they get bored and do something else. So I'm like, oh no, I became a good teacher. The day I can get my parents to do 2 hours of class. If I can get them to do 2 hours Monday night, then I've done a good job. So anyway, it's great to be with everybody, and we don't have a real agenda. Dani and I thought, and Renee's here too, you can pick our brains about hypnotherapy during COVID times, Zoom sessions. I'll make a few announcements and talk about kind of my sentiments about why we are here, but then I just really want to open up to whatever this community who decided to show up tonight wants to do. So I can tell everybody I was paragliding around the world before COVID hit. I had flown Colombia, like major paragliding over major mountains. I'd flown Colombia, Costa Rica. I flew a volcano in Costa Rica. Peru, I flew over the Machu Picchu Sacred Valley area at 13,000 feet. And
awesome.
And then Brazil, flying around the Christ the Redeemer statue was super awesome. But it was while I was in, that was amazing, flying around Christ the Redeemer. But while I was in Brazil, that's when COVID hit, and my buddies and I were like, wow, we need to get back to the States. So we got back, quarantine and hunkered down. That was in like February or something. And I've pretty much just been hunkered down in my house here in the mountains ever since. But it made me start dedicating a lot more time to the mission and remembering what I'm really on the planet for, which is not just a paraglide, but to do everything that we do here. So since then, I founded onlinemonastery.com. I don't know if anyone here is part of that, but we're going through a really intense, in-depth meditation course based on my books, The Sacred Geometry Meditation and the Anahat Meditation System. And it's being really well received. I get emails every day from students who are having like Kundalini awakenings, major mystical experiences, or starting out-of-body experiences. So check that out. It's totally free. I'm not asking for any money from that. Onlinemonastery.com. And then just a nice announcement to segue. Hey, Dani, it's a donkey. A nice way to segue into tonight's Hangouts is I've been wanting for a long time, and I've tried many times to help our graduates to succeed. And it's hard because, you can't, of course, the water can't make a drink type of thing. But I've always wanted to help in different ways. And now that COVID hit, long story short, we see the demand for Zoom sessions, and we have this relatively huge database of graduates who kind of are, a lot of them just sitting at home. So we're starting interpersonal hypnotherapy clinics rather soon. The goal is, so I'll tell you about the exact goal, and you guys are all welcome to be part of it. By January, and you know how we set goals, right? By January 31st, 2021, I see 1,500 hypnotherapy clients per week. But I can't do that on my own, so we need our graduates. So our plan is to market for you guys. We'll have a clinic manager. We will collect, the leads, and we'll distribute it to you guys. And basically, so anybody who, and we have to qualify you. So this isn't open to everybody who sees this video who's here now. But if you're qualified to receive high and really good quality leads from us, then my goal is to get 100 people seeing 15 clients per week. Right, and that's how I'm going to see 1,500 hypnotherapy clients per week. So that's kind of why we're here tonight, is to keep community going, offer support, and to help everybody grow into a vision where we really are being part of the solution. Because I've been feeling really good. I live in the mountains. I'm an advanced meditator. I know how to feel super good inside. Like Renee, I practice happy. So like I know how to feel like Lygia. I know how to. Oh, she just popped away. I knew how to move through grief and loss and my emotions, and like we all have a lot of really great tools. So I've been feeling amazing, honestly. But the rest of the world, it's tragic. I live on the top of a mountain, and I feel like everything happening below is like a hell. And thank God I'm like a yogi monk up in my cave in the mountains, like kind of literally, not the cave, but a treehouse. But they talk about beings who just live in the mountains, bliss out, and don't help the world. But this day and age, the Bodhisattva vow is to get out there and help the world, not to just bliss out on your own. So it's amazing. I think it's in the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist Bible. It says you can heal the entire world without even leaving your home. And like, what a great thing during quarantine time for those of us who have these skill sets to get out there. So that's my intro to why we're here. And I'd love to hear from Dani or you guys or Dani, who's your doggy?
This is Bella.
Ay, qué lindo.
Hi, Bella.
Adorable.
Years old.
Que lindo.
Qué lindo.
Lygia and I got into that whole que lindo. Well, that's her
I
thing.
know. Qué lindo.
Que lindo.
Oh, tan bello.
Que lindo, Lygia.
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky, being here in Celebration. It's just so beautiful. Having moved from Bradenton just in January, and then getting ready to do another relocation. To your point, Matthew, being able to heal people remotely is just so incredible, and I never would have imagined being able to do what I do. Thank you, Bella. And you too. I never imagined being able to do what I do remotely. If you'd asked me this a couple years ago, I'd have been like, nope, not possible. But I do believe it, and I've seen so many incredible transformations happen over Zoom. It even messes. There's some people in this chat right now who have interfered with technology because they have had such incredible transformations over Zoom. So I'm really excited about that. It just really changed my idea of what was possible. Energy is always flowing, and it flows right through the computer, so nothing can stop it. I'm thrilled. I don't live in a tree house yet, but my new place, I got a nice lush backyard to overlook. Nice place to overlook.
You got a beautiful new place from the pictures I saw in North Carolina there. Yeah, I was really hesitant to do the Zoom sessions. I mean, I've done online sessions over the years, but I'm like, I don't want hypnotherapy to become this. I don't like this. I mean, I'd like to say anything about COVID, but I'm like, I don't like what's happening now. I want us to be in our offices. I want us to be having conferences. But then I started opening up, and this is not an invitation because I'm kind of booked, but I opened up to a reduced student rate for our students or graduates. And so I started seeing, 5, 6, 7 clients per week doing only Zoom. I have not had a single bad session. In fact, I've had really great sessions, and it's easy, it's fun. I just stay in my house here. I just go into my office and can just put on a dress shirt. Doesn't matter what's on below. Although Dani was like, nope, you got to step up and dress. But we all know during Zoom, it doesn't matter what's going on below. And I just,
It does. I actually am doing a Zoom call here. So if you can not have that on, like, or put your headphones on. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I heard something. So, you're just sitting at home. You can have your own, like everything. You're in your house. You just go get a drink. So, The sessions have been great. There's really, and you don't have to modify the techniques very much. If you can't do something that involves touch, you just don't do it. And then you do all the other stuff. I know Dani, maybe we talk about this, was changing some techniques. But my experience was I just, like if you can't do a hand press rapid induction, you just don't do it. Maybe you take another minute or two to do some other deepening. And people go into hypnosis in the safety of their home. I've seen more people's beds and their cats and their dogs. Quite often they're doing they're in deep hypnosis or doing breath work and their cat crawls over them or something, or they're doing breath work and they're crying and screaming and their cat is running to the other side of the room to hide. I've seen tons of people's living rooms now and bedrooms, and it's fun. It's just another way to do hypnotherapy. It doesn't limit. And in fact, it's not limiting because it gives us the ability for the school to market nationwide, get hundreds of leads per week, and then divvy that up amongst our graduates. I mean, whoever would have thought we could do that? But now we can, and we're really determined to.
Matthew?
To hear
Yeah.
some
If you would allow me, I wanted to say something. I have been doing before the virus and before the Zoom. I have been using FaceTime or Google Hangout or whatever for the last 3 years. And I had clients all over the world, all the way from Singapore to Europe to Canada and to US, this thing. So I think one of the things that I found in doing the hypnotherapy, one of the most powerful words we have in hypnotherapy is imagine. So we start out with bringing the client to a place of peace and love. And we cannot do that unless we are at a place of peace and love as therapists. So once we connect with the client, either audio or video, we say, imagine we are in the same room. You can touch me and I can touch you. And with that, although we may be thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away, the distance disappears. And when you say that, I'm going to touch you here, imagine that my hand is an extension of your hand. So when I say touch yourself on the forehead, I am touching you. There are ways to get around it, but therapy can be very effective, just like...
Dr. K, hold on one sec. Hold on one sec, Dr. K, I'm sorry. Can everybody mute their mics? I don't know whose mic is doing that. So yeah, just be sure to shut your mic if you're not talking, just so we don't get background noise. Thanks. And then I want to hear from everybody who wants to share. I'm sorry, Dr. K, please continue.
Yeah, so I think we can, even with the virus and with the distance, we can really manage to help people. Just we have to believe that we are in the same place, that we are not separated by distances. Once we start with that energy that we are in the same place where we can communicate with the energy of the client, everything becomes relatively easy and effective.
Yeah, especially from your comfort of your own home. Thanks, Dr. K.
So I have a question. Do you see now more more people needing hypnotherapy because of COVID? Like, people are more isolated. Do you guys see increasing demand just because of during the COVID times?
Yeah, Dani, you want to respond to that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I had a little bit of dip for a little while, but then it came right back. People are need the help, they need support, and I think that the whole telehealth, the focus on telehealth, made it really easy for us to move into that domain because people need the support. They're becoming more and more familiar. And I don't know about y'all, but I noticed that there's a nice little comfort level people have of having the authentic emotional release in the comfort of their own home, where they don't have to do the walk of shame from my office with their makeup streaming down their face or leaving the office. There's a nice, almost like in the theater world, we call it the fourth wall, right? Where it's between you and the audience. There's a nice little added piece that kind of gives some comfort and security. And so I'm finding no dip there. And I think, again, the telehealth movement has helped us in that respect because even though we're not mental health professionals and we're medical providers, we're kind of in that same group of people now where it's acceptable to get support from this remote experience. And so I think that's helped us quite a bit.
Yeah, I've seen some research, not too much, because that's not really my thing. I just kind of feel energy and do what I can to help people to feel better. But the general energy of things, what you hear is certainly more mental health conditions, more suicide, more isolation, more drug abuse, more domestic violence, and unfortunately childhood sexual abuse. So I think we all know, it's bad. And I think what this is doing, my experience of COVID, is it's showing the best and worst of all of us, right? We're seeing the horrors that already existed on the planet, amongst humanity, and we're seeing just crazy things happening now. So yeah, I just know there's always been suffering. I've always been called to relieve suffering, but now, like more than ever, and if out here in California, where I don't know if everybody knows, I live in California now, and we have wildfires all over the entire West Coast. Today's one of the clearest blue days, but you can't even see the sky anymore. And up in San Francisco, the sky is orange. It's like apocalyptic orange. So I think we all intuitively know, like, it's pretty bad times. But the fact that we have the internet and the technology to help to make it better, and with what we do, and like Dani said, we're not mental health. Some of you are, but we're not necessarily licensed practitioners. But in A Course in Miracles, in the manual for psychotherapy, it says, "Is psychotherapy a profession?" And it says, strictly speaking, no. Because how could something that everyone is involved in be a unique profession? Like, we're all doing it. And in hypnotherapy, Gil Boyne, he actually called this a therapy for the people. He didn't want to see it relegated to only licensed psychologists. It's like, this is a therapy for the people.
I think that it really depends on what you bring. I have been seeing clients in-house and online. I have a space big enough to see clients in-house, and I screen them, and I've been very comfortable with that. And I think it depends. There are some hypnotherapists who say that it's dried up for them. They don't know nobody's calling. Well, I am booked out until mid-October. Why? Because I don't come at this from fear. So I think if you're afraid to do online work, or you're afraid to move forward in your practice, then that's what you're sending out in the world. I always remember in school, Matthew, you said, psychic marketing. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. What the hell is he talking about? Like, I wasn't in that at all. And it makes such a difference who you're attracting and how much people you're attracting. And it's really important for all of us to check in with ourselves as we're moving forward to help people. I think he alluded to that earlier, is our own mindset is important. And I have to tell you, I'm in my 8th year here, something like this. And in the last 6 months during COVID, have been the most profound healings and the most profound work, because people are just so elevated now that it's just, they don't have a choice. They're either going to break through it or they're just going to collapse. So it's really so beautiful in the work that we do, that we can help people gain hope and move forward to a new opportunity. And I have the best job in the world, as we all do. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I know Renee's mentioned that before. I think in our other interview I did with you, Renee, like, this guy's crazy with this psychic advertising thing. Last night I was teaching, it was last night, the onlinemonastery.com stuff, the Anahat meditation system. And that group has really come a long way. So I'm really advanced stuff. And we were talking last night, and you go a little advanced for everybody just for fun, because that's what I'm all about. In yogic philosophy, we have this thing called Purush, which is the consciousness that we are, the source or spirit that we all are. And then Prakriti is the energy of the whole universe, right? The energy that makes up everything. And we're going really deep. I was saying how the deep yogic teachings say that Prakriti is in the service of Purush, which means all the energy that makes up the whole universe is in service of you. And it's going to do whatever you want it to do, essentially, what you intend to do, right? So when you kind of get that you make the shift, that I'm not a body, I'm a spiritual being. And if you just have that one simple mindset, I'm a spiritual being, I'm not a body, then you as a spiritual being are the one who is not only controlling your body's energies, but the energies of the whole universe. And a lot of people misuse that, right? And we have all this suffering right now. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 100th monkey phenomena, right? I'll take a moment just to say that, but then I want to keep it interactive and not just be the only speaker teacher here. There were scientists, this is a true story, I guess, who went to these islands, started studying monkeys, and saw how they would eat potatoes out of the ground without washing them. And then the monkeys saw that the scientists would wash their potatoes, and the monkeys on that island learned how to do that. But then on the other side of the island, the monkeys started learning how to wash potatoes. But the scientists were like, they couldn't have seen that. There's no way they could have learned, but maybe they did. So they let it go. But then they started going to the other islands in the area where there's no way the monkeys could have seen about that behavior. But on islands all over that area, the monkeys learned how to wash potatoes without ever seeing it. And this is the 100th monkey phenomena. But the idea is when a critical mass gets it, there's this huge, huge ripple effect that occurs beyond time and space. So as gloom and doom as it seems right now, because it seems like how's global warming ever going to get better? And, you know, and COVID, that can't be the last horrible virus that we're going to experience. And, you know, does that ever really go away? You know, we're all having these kind of thoughts. But I just certainly, especially, you know, in this position, want to hold the optimism that with enough people who come together the way we do, we can heal the world. You know, or at least you got to die trying. Like, what else are we going to do?
What I hear you say is wash potatoes, wash potatoes, wash potatoes.
I hear me saying that when a critical mass comes together, when enough of us learn how to clean ourselves up. Yeah.
Matthew, the energy does not require words, language, and the energy is beyond time and space anyway. Once we understand that, it's very easy to communicate. But as it started out saying, as therapists, we have to start from the place of peace and love. And I came up with, when I talk to my clients, that peace and love is very easy to mention. How do you get there? And I tell them, like, your cell phone has a password, your computer has a password. The password for peace and love is gratitude and forgiveness. If you remember that, gratitude and forgiveness, they will bring you to a place of peace and love. And then after that, everything falls into place.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love it. I'm going to use it. Gratitude and forgiveness.
And
Beautiful.
forgiveness. Oh, yeah.
I
Beautiful.
was watching recently, it was something about Gandhi, and I was talking with a colleague, and this colleague was like interviewing me, getting to know me more. And I said, you know what? Like, Gandhi, that should just be the norm. Why isn't forgiveness and kindness and gratitude the norm? Why are people just like shooting other people in the head? I'm like, so I think like what Dr. K is saying is, it should be so common sense. I have clients, you know, you all know what it's like. The client's angry, and for instance, anger, and you say, all right, column A, column B. Okay, you're angry. How would you like to be? And they go, well, not angry, right? I'm like, well, no, like, how would you want to be? And I go, well, I don't even know. I just don't want to be angry anymore. And I'm like, well, we got to come up with the positive. So like, you know, and then they say peace. I'm like, all right, how are we going to get to peace? And they actually don't know. What Dr. K said, forgiveness. You don't let go of anger and become peaceful or happy or joyful or loving just by programming it in. You have to choose and understand forgiveness. And sure, and gratitude, of course. Yeah, you would think this would be so commonsensical that we're on a planet with almost 8 billion people and they understand forgiveness, but they don't. And we need forgiveness teachers. And that's what we as hypnotherapists can do. That's why I don't feel like just this is a hangout. It's a way of like mobilizing people to get out there and heal the world. And to think, oh, I'm only a hypnotherapist. Like, no, you're a teacher of forgiveness who knows how to heal the subconscious mind and move it from fear to love. That's no small thing.
It's really so
That was
simple when you really think about it, but we have these programs, and this is what drew me to this profession, is because I'm completely changing my whole life, like, you know, just everything. You know, my old life is gone, and I'm like jumping into this thing that I had no idea about, but I just always had this fascination with mind, and, you know, thinking about why do I do things that I do, even though I know better, right? So it's beautiful, because if you can hear people's minds, even one person, it changes everything. It's a ripple effect.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
You know, this reminds me of something in Renee's book. It's let's talk about the F word. Is that what it is? Yeah, a little cheeky way of introducing the F word that people are so afraid of, right? Am I getting it right?
Yeah, it is. I put it in the column. Let's talk about the F word for sure. You got to have some fun, people.
Right.
You know, at our school's training, we don't officially introduce forgiveness until about 250 hours in, for that exact reason, that people freak out. There's a line in the Course in Miracles that says the one fundamental error that every patient will come in, I use the word patient, we don't, but that every patient comes into your office with is the belief that anger brings them something they want, and that by justifying attack, that they're protecting themselves. To the extent they're willing to let that go, to that extent are they truly healed. And it's like, it's just the simplest, yeah, like that to me there's just a few of those little gems that you say, if you just buy into that one principle, so I'll say it again, actually, since I heard Dani, I think it was say, like what, again, these things should be kind of common sense, but we're not trained in this in grade school and high school and college. The one fundamental error that every client comes into our office with is the belief that anger brings them something they want, and that by justifying attack, they're protecting themselves. To the extent they're willing to let that go, to that extent they're truly healed. But it says they see us as an enemy because they see us threatening to take away the thing they treasure most, which is attack, right? Which is anger. And so forgiveness is actually a threat to their ego's current belief system. So I love that. Like, let's gently talk about the F word.
The way I start talking about forgiveness is not about the F word. It's really about anger. And I call it a prickly box that we put stuff inside there that we don't want to feel. So I help my clients unpack it, which is usually sadness or hurt, those kind of things. So if I have them unpack their anger box, it helps them to move forward into forgiveness. I find it's much easier for them to look at it that way and unpack anger before we move into forgiveness.
Yeah. Why do you feel that?
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
Not only anger, but even pain, suffering, cancer. Many people hang on to it thinking this is a valuable asset. This helps me live. And in parts therapy, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it or not. In parts therapy, you just give it a new name and new function, and healing starts. Many people really believe that anger is one, but anger or bad temper or bad manners, all these are really wonderful assets. And this is what keeps me alive. This helps me survive. So this is their survival mode. And any interruption with the forgiveness or with any positive thing is really a threat, as Matthew was saying. So we have to recognize that.
For sure.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
noticed that
Dr. Day.
people
That's what I
use
was just
time
asking.
Oh,
Right, that's what I was just asking. Yeah, that's what I was just asking Renee. Why do you feel it's so hard to approach forgiveness? And Dr. K said is what I was alluding to, but I'd love to hear your words, Renee, about how they perceive it as a threat, or what is your take and why we need to gently move into that.
Well, I also think when you talk about anger as being, keeping them safe, in my opinion, as a nurse, is the chemistry of anger is very addicting for one, but it's almost like a meerkat. It's like it elevates them. They feel a little bit more aware, especially if they're tired, they're not sleeping, they're in pain, they're exhausted. It gives them a little bit of a boost. So in my opinion, that's what anger does for people. It elevates them chemically. So they're afraid to let go of it. So if we unpack it and give them a new way to look at it and different chemistry, then they're going to be able to move towards forgiveness. Once they understand that it's not about being unsafe, they have to keep themselves safe at all time, but what it's doing for them, that's my approach. It's not for anybody else, but it's for you, it's for your health, your wellness, your ability to sleep, whatever it is. So that's how I approach it. But I think that they have a hard time getting rid of the chemical hit of anger.
And what you're saying, Renee, this is Lee here. Hi. What you're saying is, when you say that you unpack, you help them to unpack the anger, it makes so much sense, because I feel, and sometimes I've seen it, that anger is like a secondary emotion. There is a primary emotion behind. So maybe it's fear, maybe it's even grief. But people just show their anger, and maybe what they are trying to do is to just conceal what they're really feeling inside.
Well, it's much easier to be angry at someone than to tell someone you're hurt, isn't it? Or that you're sad. Mm-hmm.
That you're scared. It's easier to say I'm angry than I'm scared, because of the ego thing that comes up. Yeah.
Well, you're not as safe when you're afraid, right?
Exactly.
But I've seen a lot, especially with clients who have trouble opening up. You're like, wow, why can't they feel their feelings? Why are they not opening? When you eventually get them to start to open up, yeah, they're filled with anger, but because so it's not like, we all understand. It's not that you shouldn't feel anger, right? We're saying you don't want to be harboring it. You don't want to value it. You don't want to hold on to it. You don't want to make it your high. But the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, even I, after almost 25 years of doing this work, still see that the anger is actually self-hatred. And part of why they're not willing to open up and feel, and they just don't want to go there. Like if you say, you know, you need to forgive, the topic right away comes up. You have to forgive yourself and others. If you have to forgive yourself, it means you have to look at all the horrible, shameful things you think you did. And people are just terrified to look at that. So we have the tools like to heal the world, like Dr. K talking about healing cancer. And I've healed cancer in my clients. I've seen that happen, you know, as an adjunct to traditional care, but I've seen it happen like for sure. And the hypnotherapy really contributed to the healing of that. But yeah, people hold on to these things. In A Course in Miracles, again, there's, to quote that again, the teaching is there's one problem and one solution. And the one problem is separation, and the one solution is oneness.
Oneness.
And in oneness or peace, because when you're in oneness, you're in peace. Peace is health. So one problem, one solution. Separation is the problem. And here, like part of creating community, coming together in Zoom, and any way we can, you know, eventually our IH conferences again, is the idea of oneness, but not just oneness as, you know, community, but oneness within oneself. And when you hate yourself and you hate others, and you're choosing that, valuing that, that's like the problem, right? And all of it's just rooted in a false sense of self that we as hypnotherapists, we have the skills to resolve. Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody as I have this chance, never to underestimate just how powerful our work is. Because if really peace is health, and the one problem is not separation physically, separation induced that you feel in your own mind, to heal that is to heal the world. So again, that's no small thing.
I think Neva, you were trying to chime in there for a moment. What were you going to say?
I was, but it all kind of got covered, but thank you. I do want to say though, that just during COVID that, I'm seeing 15 clients a week, and I'm booked out. I'm not booked out till mid-October, but I am booked out pretty much the rest of September. And, you know, that started pretty much right after the lockdown was over, and I physically opened my doors again. And I give all my clients the option if they want to do a Zoom session or in person. And I haven't had one choose a Zoom session yet. Everybody has chosen to come in, and, you know, I've modified the induction so it's contactless, and, you know, I'm not getting in anyone's face or touching anybody, but it's been really, really busy. And I have also noticed, yeah, that the healings have been, you know, the transformations have been really miraculous and really profound, both for my clients and myself, because it's not like it hasn't been a triggering time for myself too, but it's been really busy. And so, you know, the clients are there, the people are there. There's a lot of people that are ready. And that is sort of the silver lining, is that like people have this awareness and the opportunity and the time now to go within. And so there really is this beautiful opportunity to heal the world one person at a time, because the ripple effects are so magnificent and widespread. That's all.
Thank you, Neva. It's good to have you here, Neva. And also, it's just so, you guys have probably, I don't know if you have any idea, because, you know, I started the school, right? I'm that person. And when I see graduates succeeding and helping people, I hear Neva's, who, you know, I know like when you were getting started, and now it's like, yeah, you're seeing 15 people a week during a global pandemic, and you're helping people to heal, and you feel confident to modify techniques. I mean, you're rocking it. It's so good to see that.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a wild ride. It took me, you know, because it's been just like, I opened my practice in April of 19. And I was definitely like not confident in doing that. It was just like the universe was like, I don't care that you're not ready. Here's an office and you're just going to go ahead and do it. And I was like, you know, blew up Dani's phone more often than I care to admit. But
worth it.
but I definitely I'm really confident now. I'm like seeing young teenagers. I won't go younger than that, but for a while I didn't want to even touch that, but there's so much need for it. I have parents calling me, their children have anxiety, their children are really struggling right now, and I was scared to touch that stuff at first, but there's such a need for it, and there's so few people that have these techniques, and I felt like it would be such a waste to not, you know, reach out and see if I could do it. And I'm, you know, I seem to be really reaching them, so it's been super rewarding.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
probably more rewarding for me to know that you're out there doing it than it is for you to be. Because while I'm sitting here in my hammock in my sky chair, you're out there healing the world. I mean, what could be better?
And that is so great to hear, because I'm going through school right now. And, you know, these are exactly my thoughts. You know, how do you get started, right? Where do you, I do have this confidence inside of me. I really feel that I can reach people and I can touch people, but, and I can help them. But there's still this, you know, like, I have never done that, right? I'm just practicing on some friends. So there's still this insecurity. So it's really nice to hear that you feel this way, you know?
I
So
definitely did not have that right off the bat. I felt just like you. And I remember sitting in class and they would say, oh, don't worry, everybody feels like this, but you're going to get to a point. And I was like, yeah, maybe everyone else, but not me. And I could never have seen myself and like doing this and with ease and grace and confidence and creativity. You know, I can remember sitting in class being like, how'd you just come up with that so quickly? You didn't even, there's no script, there's no nothing. And now I'm like, sometimes I get stumped and I'm like, I don't really know what to do here. And I just kind of get quiet for a second and inevitably something comes and it usually is the right thing. So there's sort of a divine intelligence that will find you. And it's just, you know, stay the course because it's so worth it in the end.
So how long do you feel it took you to get to this point where you felt more confident, you know?
Well, I mean, it was a progression, you know, with I would say like my very first client, I called Dani probably 30 minutes before he got there. It bawled my eyes out. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. I can't do this. It was a smoker. I can't do it. I'm freaking out. And you know, she talked me off the ledge. Then I sat in my office and I cried for 15 minutes. And then he came in and I just did it. And even after that, I was already all the more confident that was out of the way and that I did it successfully. And the fact that he quit after 2 sessions, not even 3, was already like, wow. And so with every single one, it just grew. You know, there's no date that it happened. I mean, I'm sure even in a year from now that I will look, you know, I'll feel even more confident. But it's a progression. The more you do it, the better you feel.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, for asking. I cried for my first 2 years. But no, it's like you don't. I'm totally kidding, but you don't feel ready. I'm reminded as Neva's talking of the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron, some of you may have heard of, and she was doing a class or something with her students, and she said, you know, you got to get out there, and we're Buddhists, we're bodhisattvas, we heal the world, that's what we do. And this guy said to her, he goes, I just really don't feel like I'm ready for what life is asking me to do. And she said something like, sir, I don't feel ready to be sitting here in front of you teaching this class. but we're doing it. Like, you know, like you're not necessarily ready. When I was teaching last night, the Sunday night meditation class, I don't remember the exact moment this came up, but the idea that I was giving the quote, it was it's like, God, if I ask for heaven, you keep me out of it. If I ask for hell, you throw me in it. But when I ask to see your face, you must show it to me. But like along those lines is like the similar quote about, if you throw me in hell, I'll build an ashram. Like, so if you're on the planet right now where the skies are orange, where you can't hug people anymore, where there's 1,000 people just in America, right, dying a day, it's like, well, what do? Like, well, you build an ashram, you open your private practice, you do Zoom sessions, you do whatever it takes. It's like, what, like the bodhisattvas, that whole model is somebody who's enlightened who doesn't have to be in the world anymore. They've graduated Earth School, but they stay here to be of service. And I think it was the Dalai Lama who said, if it weren't for the bodhisattvas, who would bring water to those who are on fire? It's like, so I always see that our interpersonal hypnotherapists and those who like, you know, really made it to that level. We have the 22 hours of additional CUs. I just signed somebody off today in that. And I don't usually respond to students every time they, you know, complete something, obviously. But whenever somebody becomes a true interpersonal hypnotherapist, where they go through that additional 22 hours, plus our 500, I feel like you've just become part of this family of people who are, like Neva said, using techniques that most people don't have. And yeah, the feeling like I'm not going to be able to do this kind of stuff, especially those of you in school right now. Some of our students now haven't even been to practicals because we had to postpone those. So I don't know where you're at, Dan, honestly, but if you've never done practicals, you're definitely going to feel intimidated sitting at home. They're like, I can't do this. I need to hear Neva and he was kind of young, so I was going to say when Dan asked her, like, how long did it take you to get confident? I was going to say, I don't know, how old are you, Neva? It was like,
I'm 35.
it took 35 years to get
Yeah.
confident enough to do it. It takes like your whole life to prepare, but I like the model that there are challenges, but a lot of us all have our own backgrounds in unique training, including, of course, hypnotherapy. And when a challenge comes around, you say, welcome, I've been preparing for you my whole life. All right, so 35 years of preparing to step out there and heal the world. But yeah, whatever age we're at, we have students who are, yeah, like in their 70s, well, maybe one person in their 80s. And it doesn't matter, like we're all just doing our part to heal the world. In Richard Bach's book, Illusions, it says, here's the test. If you want to, it says, here's a test. If you want to know if your time on Earth is, if your mission on Earth is finished yet, if you're still here, it's not done. And I find, like, especially now, everyone I counsel, consult with, private sessions, coaching, I have a lot of people I interact with. And it's right now just about motivating people for like two things: heal yourself and then heal the world. Like you know your mission, it's not a mystery. Heal yourself, heal the world. I had a client, she's not here right now and I won't break confidentiality, but she's like, Matthew, I want you to help me to find my life mission. I'm like, beautiful, great. And she's a student in our school. And I said, she goes, can we do past life regression? I'm like, no. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, how are you going to find out what to do for your mission now, compared to what you did 500 years ago? It's like, you're not going to find it in a past life. She's like, what about life between life? I'm like, so your guides are going to tell you this: you're here to live from love. You're a teacher of love. You're a healer. You're a teacher of forgiveness. She's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm channeling that. like, no, like, that's why you're here. And she goes, well, what about natal regression? Can you take me back like to my birth experience? I'm like, if you want me to facilitate those techniques for you because you want to experience them, you want to experience them with me, you can pay me for just that. I said, but if you ask me for your life mission, then we're going to do the life mastery course. I want to hear, what is your core mission statement? I want to see your life principles. I want to see how you put that into your goals. And then through that conversation, I said, all right, so your goal is 15 full paying clients per week. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you already know that. So more and more when I say to people, like, who are you, to help them to open up to bigger picture ideas. And then I'm like, why are you? Why are you here? And I don't believe that we don't know that. Like, you're here to help people to heal and be part of the solution, but to have the techniques to do so, and a career, where you can jump into that, to me, that's, like Renee said, it's the best job you could ever have.
It's definitely very exciting for me. It just, everything about this feels right to me. The more I get into the training, I'm doing that the last 500 hours now, and we only had one set of practicals with Dani, so we're gonna catch up on those, I guess, this fall. But just the whole thing, like there wasn't one time that I would start questioning myself if this was the right thing to do. So that's wonderful.
Awesome. It's so good to have you here.
And Matthew, hi everyone. This is Malika. For my part, I've been very inspired by all your discussions, and I'm really happy to be here. I haven't started yet, but being on this path kind of had me looking at my own anger. And what I realized with anger and free will, it's very correlated. Basically, I realized that anger was really a reactive action that I was doing without thinking, and in the process losing my free will right away. So I was cutting all my options off by just reacting robotically. So when I really understood that for myself, it's more easy now to explain it to others, because I just realized that the only free will we have is in that moment where we either react or we weigh our options, we breathe, and we really decide. That's when really we decide, and we pick and choose the life that we want. And I realized that anger also was giving me a quick high, a sensation that I was in control. But then after that, it was a drop in energy where I felt guilt or shame and regretted everything. And now it's another loop to go back to my balanced self. So that's what anger taught me, really. And you're right, Matthew, it has to do also with not wanting to forgive self because we feel like we've done so many, negative things. And yeah, so that was very therapeutic for me to just switch this around and get my free will back.
That's beautiful. And to realize how, if I hear you saying like how important your free will is, right? How important is the power of choice, right? Can somebody, I think it's Sean, honestly. Hi, Sean. Can you shut your mic, please? I'm hearing background noise. I think that's happening there. So anybody who's here, if you're not talking, please shut your mic. Great, thank you. Thank you, Malika. It's awesome. So how far are you along in the training, Malika?
I finished with the 300 hours, waiting for the practicals. And then after that, probably going to take the transpersonal. I'm in 2 other schools, so I'm packing up a lot of knowledge right now. But by the end of the year, I should be done with all of them. Actually, I'm in an energy academy, energy healing academy, and I'm also in a mystery school. So it's quite a lot of things, But I love it all. I love it all. This is
what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm sorry?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, energy healing, hypnotherapist, it all works together. In my mind, this was just a miracle that I even found your school, because I was going to go in another way and I found your school. That was the only one accredited. I don't know, it just fell on my lap, after a lot of questions. So I'm feeling blessed.
Yeah, no, we're blessed to have you and everybody who's here with us. Now, when I started this school in 2007, it was just me and a group of 25 students, and no supervisors, no staff, no Renee, no Dani, none of our team. And then I started knowing I got to train more supervisors and teammates. But over the years, we started moving in around 2009 to more distance learning, which I resisted, but it has its place and it's good in a lot of ways. And then we started opening multiple locations, and it just kept growing. And now I don't even get to necessarily meet a lot of our students anymore. So, but everybody's so dear to me. It's almost like not heartbreaking, but that's too strong of a word. But like you guys are all so beautiful and special and wonderful, and you're out there healing people, and you're like helping them, fulfill my life mission. And I don't even get to know you. So I'm really glad that we're all here hanging out like this. Thank you, Dani, for helping to come up with this idea.
I just like to talk to people and hear about their stuff. But I am interested in stories about what you guys are experiencing, what you're going through, if you're in school, if you're done, what's going on for you, what are your biggest successes, what are your challenges,
Dani, I have known Matthew for 10 years. I'm close to 10 years. From many things that I learned from him, one of the most important, I wrote a couple of lines, but the idea is his. Words might be mine. The idea and the concept is his. It is neither am I my body, neither am I my body, nor am I my mind. Neither am I my body, nor am I my mind. All my pain and suffering are left forever behind.
Oh, wow.
Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. You learned that from me?
Yes. I articulated with the words, but the teaching is yours. I absolutely give you credit. There are a lot of things I learned from you. Yeah.
That's so inspiring.
It is as one of the, I forget the name, somebody was saying, how do you gain confidence to have your first session or something? The confidence comes. If you pray before, that's what I do even after many years. I pray before every session, because the guidance is not the knowledge I have from the books or the scripts. The guidance is channeled through divine grace. This is a very personal thing for me, but I think it probably is experienced by everybody else. Like, we don't know, because each client is very different. They come from different places with different needs, with different degrees of receptiveness to the therapy or healing. The fact that somebody is in your office or talking to you does not necessarily mean that they're receptive. So there are all kinds of issues. So all I do is before every session with any client, whether it is in person or remote, I pray and I ask for divine grace and divine guidance.
Nice. Thank you,
That's
Dr. K. I love that we can bring the spirituality into it. You know, we're not a religion, right? Of course, we're not a cult, but you know, like we're most of us are very deeply spiritually minded people, and what a beautiful thing to be doing with that. So I had a couple of thoughts as Dr. K was talking about. He was saying he prays after the sessions, and then I was like, yes, I do. I set my intention to connect to spirit, but I love the times where I'm praying afterwards, because I remember when I at my private practice in Gainesville before I opened the school, and I was seeing about 30 people per week, you know, like in-house, of course, you know, in person. And I remember after like a day of 5 or 6 clients that had huge breakthroughs. It was so beautiful. I remember going back to the classroom, not a hypnotherapy classroom yet, and I literally was on my knees in prayer, just like crying, like by tears of joy and gratitude. Just thank you so much. I can't believe this is how I spend my days, helping to transform people's lives. But I also had another thought as Dr. K was talking, which is, you know, it's kind of, yeah, it just relates to the pain that we see in the planet right now. So I don't bring down the mood. But in Elie Wiesel's book, Night, he was a Holocaust survivor. And during his book, he was talking about like losing faith. And one of his friends, they were standing there, the Nazis were killing a lot of people on the nooses. They were hanging people on the gallows. And his friend, they were watching a 13-year-old boy about to be hung. And his friend said to Elie Wiesel, "Where's your God now?" And Elie Wiesel said, "That's my God hanging from that noose." You know,
oh,
like, yeah. And like, so when I had my private, so as Dr. K was talking, you know, it reminds me of why I'm here doing this. You know, I committed to this mission because in my office, when I first opened in West Stockbridge, Massachusetts in 1997, I had a rolled top desk and the client couldn't see inside the desk from where I was sitting. You know, the angle I could see is not what they could see, but where they couldn't see, there was a little sign and it said, "The client is God." And I was like, to look in everyone's eyes and realize that's spirit, that's consciousness, that's another myself. Like, I think it's biblical, but I remember Paramahansa Yogananda said, "But by God, there goes myself." Like, in A Course in Miracles, it says, you're called to be a teacher of God. You're called to be a teacher of love. You know, not, you know, we're not being religious here, but like, you know, you're called to be a teacher of love and forgiveness when you realize that your needs are not separate from the needs of others. It's like when you finally realize you're not in this by yourself, that salvation, healing, is a collective effort. And now that COVID's happening, we hear everybody saying, we're all in this together. And like, that just couldn't be more true. So again, this, like, when I thought of doing this Hangout thing, it was a chance to say the sentiment is not just, you know, like I said to Dani earlier today, what is our intention for this class, you know, or this kind of gathering? And, you know, it's not promotional or anything like that. It's just, for me, it's a chance to say what's happening this time in history right now and just how sacred, how significant it is to me that we're doing this work. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Those are pretty deep, and you know, I'm gonna bring it back from the serious and tell you those are the beautiful nuggets that you leave with people. And I'm sitting here reflecting on those of you who are my students in this room who've seen me and heard me say it all comes back to poop. So you know, yeah, I see all you laughing now, right? So it's just really profound, and I'm a little embarrassed that's probably what they're gonna remember of me someday. But no, I see you laughing. I see all you laughing. You know what I mean.
Well, yeah, thank you for bringing us out of the heaviness.
You can always count on me for that.
Yeah. Somebody has to acknowledge, of course, the elephant in the room, which is called COVID and what's happening on the planet. But yeah, now colleagues, you know, and students, soon to be graduate. He said he had like intuition or the inspiration from spirit. He had like an inner message, and spirit is like, "You're here to clean up the shit." So that's what you mean by. So what do you mean, Dani? It all comes back to poo.
Sure. Well, you know, that mindful moment that, you know, Dr. K was talking about, you know, you breathe in that moment, and Legia was talking about, and have that moment where you let spirit drop in and really guide choice and from a place of love. You know, when I talk to clients, they say, but that's easier said than done. And I remind them that if they can control their bodily processes, such as poop, they can control a reaction. If they can learn to back up and have observation of the feeling before the feeling before the feeling that you have, that introspective process in your body to know when you're like 10 minutes away, when you're 5 minutes away, when you got to go right now, then you can manage any other process. It just takes practice, and we just have more practice managing our physiology when it comes to those things, because it's very inconvenient for others when we don't, than we do in managing our reactions in the moment. So it just takes some practice. So hence it all comes back to poop. My class all knows that. They've heard me say that.
Danny, hold it for one. Keep talking then 1 sec. I'll be right back.
For sure. I would love to know, bringing it back to you guys, who's got something wonderful they want to share about something that's happened during this time, unexpected, a miracle for you, for someone else. I would really love to hear some of those stories. It's so uplifting when we get to hear.
Many miracles are happening every moment.
What's that? It all comes back to poo.
Miracles are happening every moment. We have to, just like certain frequencies we cannot hear, certain distances we cannot see, we just have to tune our body, mind, and soul. Actually, if your soul is connected to the universe, you know everything. You absolutely know everything. The knowledge is, you're not only omnipotent and omnipresent, but you know everything. There's nothing more to know. Okay? So you just have to believe that you are connected with the universe. And as Matthew was saying, I will mention one incident that happened about 20 years ago. I was in India with some doctors, and we were in a private car traveling from one place to another. And the roads are very narrow and the traffic is very bad. And in front of us, there was a 3-wheel rickshaw with about 20 people, very small vehicle with 20 people hanging every which way, okay? And we are in a car, 4 of us or 5 of us sitting comfortably. And I had a camera, the Sony cameras had just come out at that time. So I thought, why don't I take a picture of this crazy way of transportation? When I go back to the States, I will share it with my friends and everybody and tell them how crazy life is. So the 3-wheeler is moving slower than our car. Very soon I'm getting closer and closer and closer. I'm ready to click, and suddenly I didn't see 20 people. I only saw me in every face. There weren't 20 strangers. There was only 20 of me. Once that realization hit me, that it is me, it is, as Matthew was saying, the solution is oneness. Separation is the problem, and solution is oneness. If we just understand that, everything else becomes so easy that you don't really have to do anything. It doesn't require any effort. Once that comprehension, that belief, it's not just intellectual thing. You must believe it in your soul, in your heart, okay? Without question. Once you understand that, everything else becomes easy. I could tell you about miracles, unbelievable miracles, and they are happening all the time. I dabble in the stock market a little bit. Matthew will be interested in this. Now, there are millions of people around the world, but at least millions in the US who are in the stock market, right? So randomly, I pick a stock that is, let's say, selling for $63 right now. And I would place an order for 57 to buy, okay? And I would put 57.03. For that particular day, there will be only one trade that is executed, and that is mine at 57.03, buy. As soon as I buy it, I say, okay, it was selling 63, why not sell it at 66 something? So I choose a random number and I do that. And 3 days later, it will execute, and it will be only one trade that got to the height, and that will be mine. So it happened a few times, and I said, what is happening? Suddenly it dawned on me, I'm connected with the universe. I'm not doing anything with the computer. My computer is not doing anything. It's only a tool. Somehow the energy is making it happen. It's a manifestation of your own, whatever you want. You know, there's a law of attraction and there's secret and all that. But the law of attraction, that's why we are here. This is not a coincidence that all of us have assembled with Matthew hanging up in the mountain. By the way, where are you, Matthew, in the mountain?
I live in a town called Crestline, California. It's like an hour and a half inland from Los Angeles.
Okay. I don't know if Matthew would remember, about 5 years ago, our family, we went to the North Carolina mountains, and we had a wonderful time for a week or 10 days. When I came back, I suggested to Matthew, why don't we take everybody from Tampa and we go to the mountain and have 7 or 10 days together. We learn, we teach, we cook, we dance, we sing. And I said, I'll pay for it. I have no problem paying for it either. I offered. And Matthew said, it's a great idea, but we'll have to explore it some more. So we left it there. I honestly believe that this get together today, this is wonderful. This is a blessing, at least for me, that after many years, I'm seeing Matthew again, hearing his voice, seeing his parents, wonderful, wonderful folks. Yes. Yeah, it's a blessing. And meeting all of you, you are my brother, sister. So meeting all of you is a great blessing. It is not a coincidence. It is not just an educational process. It's not just a meeting. It's a great blessing. We are all learning. Our energies are connected, and we are all learning from each other. We are all benefiting and healing from each other. So I find my own healing comes from the good wishes and the blessings of other friends, other people. Right, Matthew?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you, Dr. K. You're getting thumbs up and applause on the screen. No, thank you for sharing. I don't remember that exact invitation, but I think now might be the time, after at least when it's all safe to gather together.
Yeah.
We have our conferences. I want to get those, of course, started again. But now that I've started doing the Anahat meditation system, more actively teaching that, I talked to that group. I'm taking about 20 to 30 people actively who show up live, and then there's about 50 total going through using recordings right now of this current group going through it. And there's going to be a time we're all going to want to get together and meditate in that way, because it's really powerful when we're doing it now online. I love the idea of like a retreat in the mountains. Before, when was this? I was doing a lot of traveling in like 2017 or so. I was living in my RV in the Colorado Rockies, and I started literally building on a hut meditation center, like a building on 75 acres of land. It's a long story, it didn't go through, but I'm committed to creating community in that way. And yeah, might not be like official monastery, now it's online monastery, but to me that just means people who are dedicated to the spiritual path and to healing. And Dr. K, I'd love to get together, especially in your dime, and we'll
absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, that would be amazing to get everybody together, not just in a conference, but in some, those who want to be there, to some kind of spiritual setting where we're meditating and dancing. Yeah, eating great food, and sure, right on.
Right.
Yeah. Dani, before I got my Pooh Bear, what were you saying you were asking people to talk about?
I was asking for, discussions from contributions about miracles and things that they've seen and things they want to celebrate and share. Anything, this is the time that we get to hear all of that and inspire others. You never know where your words might actually plant the seed in someone else that creates the change for them. So anybody want to share some excitement?
I just recently, I don't know if this is what you have in mind, but last night my friend's mother died, and I'm practicing on her. She has so many issues. She said to me, just do whatever you want with me. So she's a good friend. So we've been doing regression therapy and some other things, and she had some major issues with her mom, not being able to forgive her. Her first words were, "I hate this fucking bitch. I will never forgive her." And she got to the point of love and forgiveness, just like a few days before her mom died. So she just sent me 2 days ago, this video how she's feeding her mom. And that was the last time her mom ate anything, and she said, look, and I said, you were the first person that she fed, and she was the last person that you fed. How beautiful this is, this circle. And it's just, I don't know, it just gave me this, the fact that she was able to get to this point of forgiveness and love with her mom, who she just really had a really rocky relationship throughout the years. And she just died last night. I don't know, it just made me feel so great. And it made me feel like she left she was in a better place to say goodbye to her mom, So that was a little miracle for me today when I found out she died.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
That's beautiful.
I take leave of you.
Sorry, what happened, Dr. K? I don't know. Thank you, Diana, for sharing that. It's beautiful. It reminded me of one of my clients. She was about in her 80s. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I wasn't very optimistic about us being able to heal that. And she eventually passed away, but about a month before that, when she realized she was going to pass away and she stopped trying to heal it, we just started working on being at peace, just being able to pass away in peace. And as you were talking, it's like, how beautiful. You don't always get to do anything but bring a person to peace, but sometimes it's more than good enough. Her husband was an author. He signed his book and he sent me a letter with the book, and it said, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping her to pass over in peace. And yeah, we don't always heal everybody, or obviously it's her mother, but you're able to heal the daughter because of the skills you have, and you're willing to just get out there and do it. Thank you. What else? I love this. Any miracles from others?
Well, there's a miracle in the love connection that happened in my class. I just got to say, I'm going to call you two on that. We didn't have just love, but we had love in my class.
What is this?
Between two students. Oh, there. You guys are out, right? Yeah, you guys are out. Jennifer and Greg, just two of the nicest people you ever meet, that just so pleased beyond words for the two of you. So lots of great healing happening. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
For sure. Just greatest people. I it's so funny. Without calling names or saying names, but just all the amazing, wonderful people that you meet and their extended family members. And I just want to thank all of you in this room right now for letting me get under your hood. Many of you have been under the hood, and many of your children and your children's fiancés. So but thank you for that, because I'm a firm believer, to Dr. K's point, and I don't know where he went, that every client that comes through the door is there to heal a place in me. And so my willingness to connect with them, my willingness to just be a channel to facilitate that healing is really about clearing my own stuff. You can look at it from a Ho'oponopono point of view, or you can look at it from Don Miguel Ruiz, the smoky mirror point of view. Either way, people are coming at me. So anyway, I circle back to Jennifer and Greg, and just such a wonderful, beautiful reflection of love that was happening and unfolding during a time when a very stressful time. We're trying to figure out stuff. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to see the two of you together, and my heart's very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so good to hear. What else? I'd love to hear other people's miracles. I mean, that's like, to me, what this is all about, right? To create a school, see people out there healing other people. Or your own personal miracle with hypnotherapy.
Good question.
Melissa.
Hi, yeah, I don't have any miracles yet because I'm still in school, but the miracle is that I figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up, and that's why I'm in class. So that's the only one I have at the moment. But I have a boring business question. Is that okay?
Yeah, totally.
So just in hearing everyone speaking tonight, and I know that the scope is so wide of what hypnotherapy can do and is. But my question is, for those of you who have been practicing for a while or who have their own practice, a lot of people subscribe to the school of thought in business that you have to kind of have your niche, kind of have your target audience and your area of expertise. Do you all think that is the case in hypnotherapy? Like the one young lady who was speaking earlier was saying, like, she wasn't going to go deal with children, but she kind of went that way. Like, you kind of get known for doing certain things. I personally don't like to hold myself to that, but a lot of people do subscribe to that school of thought, that's kind of how you kind of get known and you get that expertise, and that's what people know for. So your thoughts on that?
Sure. Can I take that one?
Yeah. I said, Dani, go ahead.
Yeah, only because I've been under Neva's hood too several times, and she's a very dear friend of mine. I mentor her quite a bit. And when she started, I don't think she'd mind me saying, she actually had a niche. She wanted to do this specific niche of people. And, you know, I support her and not discourage her in any way, because, you know, my job's not to tell her what to do. It's to hold space for her to listen to what she needs to do. Right. And so she came around to this awareness that being in a niche was very narrow for her, and it limited what was going to come through her door. And I love the way that spirit works, because it saw that she had this intent, and in spirit's like, that's nice, Neva. Here's a smoker. That's nice, Neva. Here's somebody who can't get over their ex. That's nice, Neva. Here's somebody who's got an eating disorder. And she's like, Dani, I don't understand. I just can't relate to these people coming to see me. And I'm like, you just go. You just go with what comes, and you keep moving. Mm-hmm. All the while, she was really cutting her teeth on all of these different skills and growing these skills. So she's like, after a while, she's like, I don't really think I need a niche. And I said, exactly. Your one niche is people who are seeking alignment. That is it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever issues that come with is, don't be hypnotized by that. It is all the same problem. To Matt's point, to Dr. K's point, is all this perceived separation from wholeness and oneness. And so that is your niche. Anybody who is separated, you know, here's where they are, here's where they want to be. That's everybody. And, you know, what we deal with, what's in the middle of that, what's in the way of that, perception, perceived barriers, beliefs, negative emotions, what you name it. So everybody is your niche. And I love Matt. I learned this from Matthew. Anybody who's got feelings about anything is the client. If you've got feelings about it, if you've got beliefs about it, then we can work on it. So sure, you can tailor your marketing to attract certain kinds of people, but I'm telling you, spirit, I'm going to use this word exploit very, very loosely, because exploit sounds like a very negative term. But I want you to think about the way nature exploits resources, right? If it's going to make something grow, doesn't it do whatever it has to do to get something to grow? I mean, weeds will grow around rocks. They'll push rocks away. You know, nature exploits its resources: water, nutrients, air, sunlight. And I believe spirit exploits in the same way, but that's such a bad word for it. Utilizes probably better. So I think as try as you might to create that narrow niche, source will find the right way to connect with you about what you need, where you need to be. You know, I'll tell you this, Matthew, the worst marketing example ever. I'm like so grateful Matthew never asks me to talk about my marketing techniques, because I'm a terrible self-promoter. Any of you who've heard me talk about myself, you can't comment right now, but I'm really not a very good self-promoter. And I don't really like to sell. And incredibly, I don't have to, because I trust Source's ability to bring me the right people more than I trust my ability to go get the right people. And when I surrendered to that, the door just kept, it was like the Church of Dani, people lining up to give me the money, getting back in line, coming back down the hill, lining up. And it really, I'm a terrible example of regular marketing, but I manifest everybody, and that's because I believe and I trust more in Source to send me people than I trust in myself to go get people. And I never get let down. So long way around to say, enjoy that exercise in creating a niche, and yet also, because it'll give you skills, but also enjoy the exercise and just say yes to the universe as it shows up at your door.
Yes, thank you, Dani. And yeah, thank you, Melissa, for asking the question. Yeah, I think exactly that. Just like be open to all the different kind of people that come to you, and it's so rewarding to experience that and to be challenged with that. When I did my practice in Gainesville back in the day of the phone book, and I don't know where you're at in the training, Melissa, but in the marketing, I talk about how I use the phone book and some good ideas to pull from that, even though we don't use a phone book anymore. And I just said offering the complete line of hypnotherapy services. My competition had bullet points about what they worked on. And then people would call me and say, I want to work on you because you work on everything. They only work on those 8 things. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so, that's a better thing. But also, I specialized in my lectures healing the mind, healing the body. because I do want to work on that level. I want the spirituality and the healing in there. So I would give those lectures. That was my specialty. But I also advertised I will work on anything. And I love what Dani's saying about surrendering to spirit, that the right people are going to come to you. But I believe we all have our, like I was saying before, our mission, but a unique mission. That I do the Matthew thing, interpersonal hypnotherapy and the Anahat teachings. That's my thing. And then everybody else has their own thing. When I first started this school, I thought I had written my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, and I thought I was going to create a whole bunch of mini-me's. I'm going to make a whole lot of Matthews who get out there and heal the world. And then it became really clear, like right away with the first graduating class, these are not meant to be 25 other Matthews. They're meant to be 25 themselves, with all of their resources and skills and knowledge and everything they bring to the table, being parents, being business owners, like whatever they did that got them to that moment, plus the hypnotherapy training, they just get like a little bit of me in there, but then they take all of who they are and bring that. So Melissa, I hope you, like, if you don't know yet, like what is your unique, we say in marketing, right? Your USP, your upselling or unique selling position. Like what is it that makes you better or different than anyone else? Like Dani's, we're doing a branch of the school in North Carolina, and I'm doing a branch of the school out here. Well, we have one now. But I'm doing the schools, multiple schools out here in California. We're going around the country. Oh yeah. And that's an invitation to everybody who's here. We want to grow with you. We really do want you to help have a location in the school someday if you want to work towards that, be part of the team. But the nice thing about interpersonal hypnotherapy is that's us. There's nobody else who can be that. And nobody can be Dani Fox. Nobody can be Matthew Brownstein. Nobody can be Melissa Moe. So it's like finding out who you are and your own unique branding. And I will say, in compliment to Dani, which we could of course do for a few hours, part of why Dani's not good at self-promoting, I would think, is because she's so humble. We were talking with PR marketing teams the other day, and I was like, all right, I know we're promoting me because I'm the guy for the brand. I said, but Dani's here in this meeting, and she's a rock star in her own right. Like, but in A Course in Miracles, it says, by taking the second position, I gain the first. And it's really something to meditate on. By taking the second position, I gain the first. It's like by being humble and just sitting back and watching process, and then just realizing Spirit has a reason why you're right where you are, and then helping you to blossom from that. So I'm not sure if that speaks to this exact moment, but I see that like with Dani, like, and, there's just corporate silly terms, but like I hold the CEO role, which is the person who has a vision and for this company, and Dani is now the COO, where that person is meant to help to implement the vision. And nobody can compete with your own vision. But anyway, I don't know how that quote ties in, but this idea of, well, I can say what Dani and I are working with more and more. I've planted the seed for this word, and we're doing without having to use the word, is masterminding, right? Where people come together and their minds joining create something so much bigger than what you can do on your own. So that's part of why we're here doing this Hangouts is like like Dani, you were saying exploit. I get the challenge with that word about utilizing the resources. One of our people here now, I won't mention unless she wants to, we're working on a research. We actually started the Anahat Research Division, where we're going to start documenting, doing real research on interpersonal hypnotherapy and its effectiveness, and then meditation, anything else we can bring in there. It's growing together as a team, and everybody has some resource. Like Lygia has contributed so much beautiful work with grief and loss in our school. Everybody has something to bring to the table. So yeah, this is, I have a dear teacher, he would teach, don't go out to energies. This is relevant to Melissa's thing. Don't go out to energies, let energies come to you. I'll say it again because it's such a profound idea. Don't go out to energies, let energies come to you. It's like by just sitting back, by sitting in your house on the top of the mountain and doing nothing, just meditating, Spirit just brings to you everything that you need. Like my students, my clients, like everything is here, and I'm just sitting on the top of the mountain, literally, and it's just happening. So it's like this surrendering and letting go, but trusting that you have a purpose and a mission. So to me, it's not as much as a marketing question as it is why you on earth. Right? And if you're here to do something that no one else can do, which has to be the case, then you have to do that, and then be very general as well. Like, market to everybody, but market to those you feel really passionate about, because that's probably why you're here. Okay. Does that help, Melissa? What Dani and I are sharing with you? Awesome.
Yeah, I think. Thank you very much. I think. I'm just coming out of 20 years of the military, so I'm very but I'm not as probably on the creative side as spiritual creative side as many folks than I am on the logical left brain. But I'm more creative than everyone in the military. Most everybody. So I'm kind of making the jump. So I'm trying to not try to figure out as much as to kind of align my heart with my brain, which is what happened the day that I decided to come back to the school. So I'm moving in the right direction.
Perfect. I just like to add, don't be afraid to share your story, because that's the best way to connect with people. If any of you've had a training with me, and I do talk about my stuff and my struggles with my stepmom and my mom, and being bulimic, and how this work saved my life. Don't be afraid to share that story and be vulnerable. It's a place of connection, a point of connection with people. You never know where it's going to resonate for them, and that could be just the thing that supersedes any other marketing efforts. Just that rapport you create, that vulnerability, that openness that you create for spirit to move, or to source to move their heart, to say, this is somebody I think I could relate to. So everybody has a suffering story, except Matthew. I'm convinced. He's like
lunch money.
Divorce, obviously.
Well, I'm like thinking, you could never go on X Factor because you don't have a sob story. Like me, I'm going on X Factor because they're going to get a backstory 10 miles long. But don't be afraid to share that backstory, because it's people. There's a lot of opportunity for commonality on the level of suffering, and suffering is subjective. And so, in that we can acknowledge each other, the greatness and the beauty we see in each other. There's also a acknowledgement of, I see the suffering in you. Thank you for seeing the suffering in me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, being that real, I think you guys know I lived at a Zen monastery, and I remember the abbot of the monastery giving one of the Dharma talks, they're called, and he said, you want to know what spirituality is? You really want to understand spirituality? He said, get real. He's like, no, he goes, it's the Coca-Cola back in the day. I don't know if they still do that, but he said, it's a Coca-Cola commercial, nothing but the real thing, I think is what it is. But he's like, get real. Yeah, Dani, I never honestly really had a big sob story until my divorce, just for the record. So people, there's I like the after divorce for sure, but there's the pre and the post pain. But yeah, being willing to be real and vulnerable has been absolutely, when you don't have rapport with the client, that's where you go. You're just look, I know, I feel shame too. I feel guilt too. I have regrets. I have issues. And just to be that changes everything.
Can I jump in?
Please.
All right. So I've enjoyed the Zoom because I really wanted to see everybody. So hello, everyone. So thank you for that. It's been difficult for me not being able to touch people. I am a toucher, and knowing that we can't do the head rolls or the hand is but I'm very glad that I'm in the school. And I joined before COVID, but had COVID happened, I would not have then come in, because I would have been like, no, because there's no point. But I'm here, and I'm so glad I'm here because I'm right on that cusp, and it just like we've talked about, where, I want to have a specialty this or that. And it's like, no, you got to be open for everything. Well, hello, we're all open for it, right? And we're all learning this together, and we're all feeling the same struggles. And I'm very excited. It's Dani, you cannot go to North Carolina. I'm never going to see you.
Road trip.
Yeah. So that's all I want to say, just real quick. Hello, everybody. Love to see you all.
You're so sweet. I love you. If I could share my screen with you, I'd show you my new digs, and you'd be coming up. We'd be having a retreat at my place.
I'm sure. We had a location in North Carolina, so we have some nice people who are still in that area and graduates who actually moved there. And then Dr. K is willing to pay for us to have some kind of retreat. So
Yeah.
Yes, doing it. You know, I moved to the West Coast because for many reasons, paragliding was the main one. But but for the, the school, it's to create like this anchor on the other side of the school. I lived actually in the New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania area, all those states actually. And then I lived in Washington State, and then down here in Southern California, and of course Florida. But also I lived in Washington D.C., Alexandria, Virginia area, and I opened the branch of the school in North Carolina, and we did trainings in Texas. So I'm seeing this grid happening all over the planet. And it's like, I'm here anchoring in this area. Danny's going to be anchoring in North Carolina. We're already have energy. We have a bunch of graduates going through my Anaheim meditation group who live in Texas. And I see where spirit, and it's crazy. I've literally lived in 50 different locations or more. Like, most people a couple times. I've moved 50 times in my life. Like, full post office box or, cable television or phone hookup, like, full move, not just the traveling that I do. And I see how spirit has been moving me around the country to do this vision. So like Sunshine's saying, it's like, and I was saying, it's very hard not only to not touch people, but it's hard for me not to know our graduates. Everything's getting so big. I'm seeing faces I've never seen before. And everybody's just so wonderful and beautiful. I'm like, oh God, I love all you guys. And I don't get to talk to you and connect to you, the way, but it's like when a vision's that big, it's just so nice to know you're part of something. I'm honored in my role in this, to be part of something that is literally blanketing the planet. We have people in all over. We have a graduate in like Bahrain, if that's how you say it. I don't say that right. But Pakistan, Bahrain, Poland, like there's China, there's graduates all over the country and all over the world. And we're just creating these little, I had a friend, she called them energy pods. Like energy pods all over. And then what we want to see happen really is, and one of our, I don't know if she's still here, Christy, who's here, there she is, we don't see her. So people like who's in Christy's place have graduated who are going through supervisor aid training right now, and then to become a paid supervisor, and then eventually to become an instructor, an examiner, mentor. But eventually, like Danny's doing, opening a branch of the school at her own location, director, instructor in that school, and being a conference presenter. Like we just want to keep empowering people and helping them to grow. So yeah, even though Danny moved, but Sunshine, we're like, wherever you are, like, what do you do that helps? So I just feel like we're all part of like a family, no matter what you do in that. But it's just like what I was saying though about the energies, let them come to you. It's just, for me, it's been an open door invitation. I just say, guys, we want to grow together. You all have something beautiful to bring to the table. Like, bring it. Show up. Danny's in charge of basically a lot of things now, because I'm good at delegating. But Danny's really the one who's kind of holding the student's hand, taking them through the training. Like Neva was saying, she helps graduates way above and beyond. But I do too. Like it doesn't matter because I own the company, but I get emails like every day. I have to spend like an hour or two a day corresponding with students because people like need us to be there, and I just love that. So as Danny is helping to hold the space for students and staff, like more the kind of people person in that sense, because she's willing to get on social media and I'm not. So I guess what I'm saying is the invitation's out there. If you ever feel like, yeah, I want to be part of this in a deeper way, reach out to Dani. We're setting up a lot of projects now. The online interpersonal hypnotherapy and virtual clinics are being rolled out soon. We're doing what I call Dani done for you websites. So graduates before they graduate can plug in with our marketing team, giving us their picture, bio, things they want to work on, like Melissa was saying. And then for a much lower price than it would take to build your own website, you just plug into it and we put you on a website. We'll also be rolling out the IAIH member database. So you have your own website, your own web page with your picture and bio, so people can find you that way. But yeah, it's like, it's hard to do all of these projects, but my major sentiment for everybody is we never stop working for you. Even when I'm out traveling or whatever, like the school is still doing everything that it does to help people to succeed because of the one fundamental sentiment of the whole class is to get out there and like really heal the world. I know we just say that, but now like isn't that more real than ever that the world needs us? And if there's a way to help you guys to succeed or for you to grow with us, absolutely. So that's my invitation.
Yeah, it's very good at delegating, and I don't have any boundaries. It's a good marriage.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
You're very good at delegating, and I don't have any boundaries. It sounds like a good marriage.
No problem. Even though I'm delegating, I find I'm working like 10 hours. All good. Yeah. Any other sharing or questions or anything from anybody while we still are here?
I have a question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, anything you need from us, any way we can support you, anything that we can do better. Don't talk about Adobe Connect videos, but anything else.
Are you asking me to say that to the group? Is that
I have a question.
Go ahead. I'm not sure.
All right.
What you're saying, Dani, but yeah, who's
So,
up?
I have a question though, so bear with me. I'm working off a hotspot. I do not have internet. I'm caregiving still. I'm hoping to return back to Florida in a couple of weeks. So my story, COVID, I've been blessed to complete the CIHT program. Loved it. I think that's going to be my specialty. But also too, I was going to co-share an office before I got the call to come down and caregive. Spirit needed me elsewhere. I'm on caregiving right now, and I need to talk to Luigi about that separately. My question being, since I was getting ready to start my practice and co-sharing, I now feel that my work's probably going to be more in the grief loss. And also too, I'm tapping into a lot more energy from source. But in terms of being virtual now, I don't want to limit myself to domestic, to one state. I want to branch out. I do feel as a collective, I do want to reach people on all corners of the world. So how does that impact our client paperwork, virtual, with the disclaimers or disclosure statements? Anyone have any feedback? And also too, I'm still struggling internally, and I've asked, Spirit to kind of guide me. I'm still having a little difficulty in my rate session versus the packages, and I'm not sure when I come back now to Florida, I'm ready to roll. But right now, I think still some of my energy still I need to still do a little self-care when I get back to get at a good place. Any tips or feedback?
Yeah. Dani, you want to take that one, and then I can respond to you?
Yeah, for sure. I started out very apologetic with my rates, meaning, are you sure $80 is not too much for you? Really, that's where I started. And I had to get a lot of time in the chair to clear that away and to ask for what I was worth. And not a lot of time, but I did have a couple sessions where the focus was on why can't I align myself with this level? And it did come back to this not good enough, not worth it. If you know my backstory, you know my stuff totally chattering in there. And when I cleared that, I stepped out and attracted more at a higher rate than I did at the apologetic rate. And if you think about that energetically, it makes sense, because look at the energy from which I was coming with that low value. It was not what was going to attract the people who could pay what I was looking for. And so then, I took me some time to build it up. And it's like funny because when Neva came along, Neva mentored with me quite a bit. I'm like, start at this rate. Don't take anything less than that, because I was trying to save her time, and she did, and she had no problem. So I would say, first of all, clear any blocks you have around around what you want to charge. Secondly, the single session versus the package, I overcame that barrier by just simply making an agreement with myself in my mind that this is a process, and that a single session communicates that there are one-hit wonders, which there certainly are, but that a package communicates that this is a process, and it gives us an opportunity to look at this issue from 3 different angles. And I don't mind telling them the techniques I'll use. Sometimes we might do some programming, eye movement therapy. Sometimes we might talk to the part of you that's in the way of where you are and where you want to be. And sometimes we have to go look back at the belief and the perception and the emotions in the way between you and your goal. And so right up front, I pretty much just say, I don't engage clients in less than a 3-session package, because anything less implies that you're going to be transformed in 1 session. While that does happen, where you are didn't appear overnight, so it often doesn't disappear overnight. So it's a little bit of a dance of not wanting to set the expectation that healing doesn't happen quickly and overnight. certainly does, but also engaging them in a process of deconstruction in order to reconstruct. And that's really at the heart of the Course of Miracles work, and it's part of what's embedded in your regression protocol, which is deconstruction of where you are, to flip it and build from a more solid foundation. So, so get some work on your sense of belief for yourself, and then start finding a way to communicate that this is a process, and then build a package to support that. That's what I would say.
Nice. Thank you, Dani. Always get to hear what you have to say too. In response to Suzanne, hi Suzanne, about cross-state border hypnotherapy, we're not regulated by really anybody. You know, we are the IA. It's a military. Wow. That was like, that's going over to put out fires. That was a major military plane right over my house. So, sorry about that. That's what you get for living in the mountains, man. There's wildfires. Well, all right, anyway, we're the IAIH, so we're the governing credentialing regulatory body for graduates, but that's not a government agency. There is no government agency that governs hypnotherapy. It's not like you're doing psychotherapy or medicine across borders. You're not doing anything as far as anybody actually cares, right? There's no organization monitoring that, and there's and hypnotherapy. While we're working to make it more of a legitimate profession, it's really hardly considered that. So we thought about this. Dan and I have talked about it. We don't have a take on it, and I do client sessions. I'm in California. Most of my clients are definitely not, all over. If you're doing medical, dental, mental health, you need the referral from the physician or the appropriate licensed practitioner of the healing arts for sure. But we right now, anyway, we might have a stance on it if there's issues, but we've seen no issues. As long as you're you're doing non-therapeutic hypnosis, no problem. Therapeutic, just be sure you get that referral. Our model is you just always abide by Florida hypnosis law, because that is the most solid of all the 50 states. But you can do hypnotherapy in all 50 states legally. In Colorado, Washington State, and I think it's Connecticut. If you work out of that state, you have to just register with that state. But I don't think that has anything to do with seeing somebody who lives in that state. So yeah, right now we're not really worried about that at all. And then as far as
internationally.
Oh, international.
That was my biggest concern, because I also too belong to a couple international groups that promoted some interest as well.
Yeah, I'm not, again, where it's like it's only starting this dialogue. But right now, I would just, if I were doing a session with somebody in some other country, I would just
go to Florida.
If you do a session with somebody like in the UK or somewhere like over there, they have slightly different therapy regulations than we do. But I don't think you're getting a call from the prime minister or something. It's like, you should have been doing hypnotherapy in this country. So I wouldn't be worried about it right now. And that's just because I'm not saying don't care about it. I think it's important to care about it. I care about it, but I don't see any government body in any place telling us that we can't do hypnotherapy across borders or in other countries. So yeah, I would just be doing it. Just be really careful about ever practicing medicine, dentistry, or psychology without a proper license to do so.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And then as far as the rate, Dani definitely, you spoke to the confidence charge weight you deserve. Every time I raise my rates, within reason, I'm at a point now where I can definitely intentionally turn people away. But when I would raise it from 70 an hour to 90 per hour to 110 per hour to 115 per hour, people just kept paying. It was only me holding back. As long as I just said 115 per hour, sessions are 2 hours, $230, people would just pay. That was before I opened the school. That's how much I was charging. And then for the packages, my big secret with that is you ask the client who comes in, even though they're coming in for one issue, make a list of all your issues. Tell me everything that bothers you, all your negative beliefs, negative emotions, behaviors, relationship problems, financial problems. Make a list of all of it. Then when they come in and tell you about all that, you say, well, thank you, because that helps me to see the bigger picture. And by the way, I can help you with this, 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 this. And then you kind of let that go. You don't even say it again, because you're not trying to close the deal for packages. at the beginning of the session. So first session, if you do like eye movement therapy, you drop them from like whatever number they're at down to a 1, like, oh my God, I feel so good. And then you do the hypnotic programming and they're feeling amazing. Then at the end you say, you know, not only can I help you with the issue we're working on, I can help with all these other issues too. You can pay session by session. Again, I like what Dani said about at least 3, so important. But I'm like, you can pay session by session, or why don't you just do like a 10-hour package? I'll take 10% off. Then we don't have to think about the money anymore. And we can just move ahead and focus on your healing. And I can help you with all these things. I was selling 10, 20-hour packages left and right, and usually 20-hour packages at 15% off. I don't do that now because I'm offering a student rate, and that's as low as I'll go. But in full-time practice, when I was doing it, yeah, it was always pushing the 10 or 20-hour packages. And when you do like 3 or 4 or 5 of those a week, and you're like, as a hypnotherapist, I just made $20,000 this week. It's a really nice feeling.
Thank you.
Awesome, definitely. All right, we're pushing the 2-hour mark. Anything else? How do you guys who are here? Helen, did I see you raise your hand? No, or did she go?
Just saying goodbye.
Okay, I was going to say hi to Helen, but okay, bye, Helen. Yeah, how do you guys feel about, should we continue doing these? Yeah?
Yes, I think it's
Yes.
very informative and it's, I mean, not have to ask a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
cool.
Yes, and Matthew, I wanted to know about your meditation classes on Sunday evening. How do I know about that?
Sure.
I would love to go there to participate.
Oh, yeah, sorry you didn't know about it. Everybody can show up, but so we have a email list, I don't know, maybe it was like 5,000 people we sent it out to, and now I'm down to like 30 of those people or so are going through with me live. But anyway, those 30 people, I'm sorry you didn't get that email because you should be in that list, but 30 or so, there's like 50 total watching the recordings. They're going through live, but they're already on level 3, which is many months in. So you can chime in just to be part of the community, and later you're advanced with stuff, but you know, you're not trained in this system. So it's best to just start on your own, not to show up to the live classes because they're too advanced. But again, you can do it. It's just you have to start from the beginning. So you go to onlinemonastery.com, and then there's a 10 or 6, or I always forget. One of our attendees helped me to make that video. It's like a 6-minute introduction, just clips of me talking about it. And then if you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, then listen to the 2.5-hour introduction. That's right there on the home page of onlinemonastery.com. That explains to you how to go through it. It's a certification training, so you can be a certified Anahat meditation teacher. And we'll probably do a certificate of completion. I have to go back and be sure I'm being, in integrity with my words of what I said we would do. But my intention is mostly to create certified teachers who can help to disseminate those teachings. They're based on my books, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation, and the Anahat Meditation System, which used to be called the Journals of Michael Devane. So when you go to the website on the top right, there's a little link that says sign up. If you start going through the lessons, just put your name and email in the sign up field, and then I'll know basically when you started. And then it's kind of, it's an honor system. You go through the whole thing, there's no charge. And at the end, when it's all said and done, which we haven't got to with this group yet, we'll do a certification process, and talk about, and that's what level 4 of the system is certifying people to teach it. But the best way to learn it is going to be to, whether you're a teacher, like even if you're teaching it, your students should watch all those videos, because the videos teach it completely. But the idea of the teacher is to be there to support the students, like somebody who's gone through the whole system, really understands what it's all about. It's extremely powerful. The breakthroughs we're seeing already, amazing. And that's really, honestly, my life's work is that more than is the hypnotherapy school. I just couldn't make a living teaching meditation, when that stuff came to me in 1996. Even though I tried, so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do hypnotherapy because it's as close as I can get to teaching meditation and, making my life all about spirituality. So that's really, if anything, it's the other half of my life's work. So I'm really out sharing it now. So yeah, that'd be great.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, qué lindo.
Qué lindo.
Great. Thank you, Lucia. It's great to have you here. Anything else from anybody? I think we're good. We're pushing the 2-hour mark. I'll talk to Dani about, or email us with the feedback about how often to do these classes, but I'll be happy to do them again. This is super chill, super comfy.
I love it. I love hearing all your stories and your questions and celebrate with you. And just remember we're here for you. Whatever you need, please don't hesitate to reach
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was
Thank
wonderful.
you
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you so
Thank
much, everyone.
you.
Thank you, Matthew and Dani.
Bye bye. Love, love.
Stroke Jack.